Before we go any further, I would just like to reiterate the ground rules as laid down in that protocol. Members of the public are entitled to talk for 3 minutes. One of the issues in the past is people don't always realise when the 3 minutes is up. So you will be made aware that you've got about 10 seconds left and wind up. You may, of course, finish your sentence before we close off. And it's 3 minutes only, please. And again, with councillors, only one response, please. Once you've had your say, you will not be able to come back into the debate. So make sure you say everything you need to say when you're on your feet. Thank you very much indeed. We now move on to the general public. I think we had Brenda had given notice in writing that she wanted to say something. Brenda here. Okay.
Do you want me to read it out?
Did you want to?
Yes, if you would please, Marcus. It is important.
Okay, so this is a public statement from Brenda Prentice regarding the item on Goodland Gardens Bridge. About this time last year, many members of the public were under the impression we had been promised a new footbridge for Goodland Gardens this summer. Some money was identified and was in place to pay for it. The bridge was unanimously voted for by the planning committee and sent to full council for approval. After a member of the public was allowed to speak for well over the 3 minutes permitted and outside of the public speaking slot, the full council only just managed to vote as the planning committee did to support the bridge. I was not allowed to respond to that man. So convinced was I that we would get the bridge, I asked Churchill Developments for the £10,000 they had promised towards the bridge. We're at the end of the summer now, no news about the bridge. I'm told it now has a steering committee. Unfortunately, it is chaired by a councillor who voted against it. I spoke to that person at the flower show, and I was not reassured we will ever get the promised bridge. In the last 14 years of austerity, so much has been taken away from people, both nationally and locally. People have become sceptical and disappointed in politicians. I understand that the town council pride themselves in doing their best to make Taunton the best place to live in. I do urge the council to keep its promises if it wants to keep the administration in a few years' time. There are now new fast-growing parties coming along who promise everything. You can deliver this promise. If the bridge was thought necessary 50 years ago, it is more needed now to stop people crossing the main road when not necessary. Taunton Deane didn't always act in the best interest of its people, in my opinion. Among other things, it should have made financial provision for maintaining the bridge, but it didn't.
Thank you. Our leader, Tom Deakin, said he'd like to just make a quick response to that.
Yeah, I'll keep reading Mr. Mayor. We've got an item on this on this topic later on this evening, so I think we should wait until that discussion and that debate. But I think Brenda Prentice's comments are noted by all members.
Thank you very much. We had notification from Alan Debnam that he had a matter he wished to raise, but I don't believe he's here unless he's come in the last few minutes. Marcus, would you want to read that out, or
We can go back to him.
yeah, we can go back to it. Okay, we'll pass on. And we've got a question from Rowan Thorne, Vice Chair of the Labour Party. Is Rowan here? This is quite a long one. It looks like longer than 3 minutes. What would you like to do with this? Do you want to read this out as well?
Or we can go back to him in writing.
We'll go back to him in writing. Thank you very much. Is there any other member of the public who'd like to say something before we move to the main meeting? Okay, thank you.
No, there
There's one.
Oh, there is one. I'm so sorry. I didn't see it. Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to introduce myself. Oh,
Come on.
yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Kyle Gordon. I'm the newly elected chair of Taunton LCN. I just want to say I'm really looking forward to working with you guys to help in the community, and would love to collaborate with some of you to do whatever it is that we think that we can. Cheekily as well, just while I'm here, I know that there are a few twin hatters Somerset County councillors as well. The LCN requires a vice chair, and it has to be a Somerset County councillor. So if anybody was interested or feel that they would be able to bring something to it, that would be fantastic if you could put yourself forward as well. Thank you very much.
you very much. Are there any other questions from members of the public? Thank you. Then we'll move on to the main body of the meeting. Apologies of absence. Apologies received from Councillor Sue Lees, Councillor Richard Lees, and Councillor Bev Fernandez,
Councillor Taunton
and Councillor Toby.
and Councillor Furman.
Councillor Furman. Are there any others? Those have all been duly noted. Councillor Evans, we're delighted to see you. I know you've been unwell, and it's a pleasure to see you back at the meeting. That brings me on to item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations that councillors wish to raise? Thank you. Yeah.
I admin a Facebook group called Friends of Goodland Gardens, which is very pro replacement of the Goodland Gardens footbridge.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Are there any other declarations of interest? Thank you. Then we can move on. The minutes of the last meeting, they've been circulated. Do I have a proposer? Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Patrick Hughes. All those in favour? All those against? I'll sign those for true and correct record. Yeah. I'll actually sign them at the end of the meeting to not take up your time now. Very much. That brings me to item 4, to note the minutes and actions arising from the committee shown below. Grants Committee was on the 7th of April 2025. Finance and Governance Committee 20th of May 2025. Personnel Committee 4th of June 2025. Operations and Assets Committee 5th of June 2025. And Community in Place 15th of July 2025. I'll take these en bloc unless anybody's got any objections. Do I have a proposer? Thank you, Councillor Patrick Hughes. Do I have a seconder? Thank you. I think be great if my light is there. Councillor Isaacs, thank you. Or a hand go up and have the light in my eyes. All those in favour? Any against? I declare that duly noted. Thank you very much. Never mind. That brings me on to receive any communications or announcements from the town mayor. I'm going to keep this very brief. We have a lot to discuss this evening. As many of you know, I now write an article every month for the Gazette. So by all means, if you want more information, it's published in the Gazette every month. And it will be published on Thursday. It's always the third Thursday. I'll just mention some key points which I think are of particular interest. The passing of Pat Hawkins, the founder of our Classic Car Museum. Funeral will be taking place at the Minster on Friday. The Minster is likely to be absolutely packed. I've spoken to Councillor Tully about this. I will be attending the funeral either in a personal capacity or if the family wish it as mayor. But it's on Friday if anybody else wishes to attend. We had the celebration of the Green Flag Protocol for 3 parks in Taunton. And those 3 parks were Victoria, French Weir and Coney Flat. Now I would urge members of the public and all councillors, there are other parks which we would dearly love to enter, but it requires the cooperation of local residents who use those parks to join in that. So if anybody is interested, please contact the council and we'd be delighted to discuss that with you. Another key point was we celebrated VJ Day 1980 with a series of events including flag raising, wreath facing and the lighting of the beacon at Mayoral Country Park. Very moving event. There was a civic party we were invited to the Royal Marines headquarters in Taunton at the invitation of the commanding officer, and a number of us went there. Most enjoyable event, and emphasises the close working between Taunton Town Council, Somerset Council, and the Royal Marines here in Taunton. And also we attended the Sheriff's Garden Party, also a very nice event. There was a flag raising ceremony for the emergency services. And the only other thing I really want to mention, well, actually two things. This week, there's a group from Connaught, our German twin town, and Councillor Garside's been putting a lot of work into this over the past year, and they are having an absolutely wonderful week. I was with them yesterday, and the Burgermeister, who is the mayor of Connaught, has come over in person this year, together with two of his vice Burgermeisters, which is a great honour. We met them yesterday evening. And I just wanted to say that he has presented £100 to our charity, the Mayor of Taunton's charity, Bold and Brave, which I have duly acknowledged. So thank you very much indeed. That's all I want to say under this particular heading. And I now call on the leader of the council under item 6 to make any announcements.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, 4 things from me this evening. Well, 5 if I say this first, which is I hope everyone had a lovely summer. Welcome back. Had nice holidays and time with family, etc. It's great to see you all. Part of our summer entertainment programme was the music at the bandstand in Bivory Park, which I think were all really well attended. So thank you to everyone who went along, who performed, who helped put that together. I think they're wonderful, and feedback is sought for next year's programme. So please do feedback anything that could be improved, better, more of the same. That would be more than welcome. We've got our exciting Taunton Together event coming up soon, and I think volunteers are required. So if you haven't yet volunteered, please do volunteer to get involved. That's going to be a really fun day in the town, so get in touch with the council if you're interested in that. The third is a note for my fellow members and the public watching, which is a reminder on the Ward Member Initiative Scheme funds that we all have available. Let's utilise them. If you're a member of the public watching and you've got something that you'd like to see happen in your local area, a small scheme, please get in touch with your local town councillor. Councillor Isaacs is the shining star, I think, at utilising the ward member pot. So if you want some advice, go and chat to him. But please do make sure that we're using those pots up. That's a message to myself as well as to everyone else. And the fourth is, many of you may have seen in the press that Somerset Council have launched their consultation on Sunday parking proposals. Please do, if you're interested. We're thinking about how we can make sure we discuss that formally as this council, but members of the public can, of course, always submit your own consultation responses. That's open until the 20th of October. So please do go and look at that consultation and submit your thoughts. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Deacon. I'd just like to note the arrival of Councillor Tully. We had you down as an apology. Councillor Tully is also the church warden at the Minster, which is where the funeral of Pat is taking place this week. So he's got a very busy week, but good to see you, Councillor Tully.
I apologise, Chair, for being late. Unfortunately, I got held up.
Item 7, reports from chairs of committees and working groups. Where working groups are concerned, it's much better if they report back to the committees and the chair of those committees reports this meeting. But if there's something really burning, of course, please bring it up. So I'm now going to call on any members who wish to provide an update. These are the meetings that have taken place since the last meeting. First of all, Councillor Amber Packer-Cube, Grants Committee. The meeting took place on the 14th of July.
That's right. Thank you, Chair. We heard from several charities and organisations, and we awarded money to Fuse, Go Create. We also funded a new projector for the Wyndham Hall Picture House. We gave money to the Bus Partnership, to Critical Moment Theatre, and to the Gaumont Palace Community Trust for a range of different events. We debated the request of return funds from Arts Taunton for a project we funded last year that sadly hadn't managed to proceed, and voted in favour of requesting those funds back. We still reserve the right to re-grant those funds once the project actually makes progress and they secure the funding they need elsewhere to make it go ahead. And we also noted a donation to Age UK for taking some of their group to the Classic Car Museum.
Thank you very much. Councillor Nick O'Donnell. Is Councillor O'Donnell here? I'm seeing. And Councillor Bev Fernandez, I know she's given her apologies. So the community in place report will have to wait till the next meeting. This is somebody else who's been delegated to make it on their behalf. Okay, we'll pass on to the next item. Councillor Federica Smith-Roberts, Finance and Governance on the 22nd of July.
Thank you, Martin. I'll just give a brief overview because it feels like a lifetime ago that we met in July. But we had multiple different things on the agenda. Lots of the items are ranged around review of policies, whether that's a review of our freedom of information policy, to our management policy, to our reserves policy. We did discuss Trafalgar House and the EPC ratings alongside fees and charges. It was a thorough meeting, so covering lots of many different things, but the information is available online as ever.
Thank you very much. That's from Councillor Federica Smith-Roberts. Councillor Conor Solly, Planning Development and Licensing Committee.
Thank you very much. Yeah, the last planning meeting went really well, and we had a total of 12 applications and 3 licensing applications. Just wanted to add as well that the neighbourhood development plan working group actually started back in July. So I just want to kind of stress we've got another meeting coming this Thursday at 4 p.m. And this is for councillors, if they do want to join, it would be really, really helpful because obviously everybody's vision on making this work is obviously helpful, and every inch of help helps as well. Also, I would just like to add that I think in the coming months that this will be put out to members of the public who feel like they have a good vibe on bringing good help to the working group as well. So if that's something that floats your boat, then I do stress you to either email us or do join. Apart from that, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Solly. Councillor Emma Packer-Hughes, Personnel.
Thank you, Chair. That took place on the 30th of July. We looked at a range of policies, some new policies, and then re-ratifying some statutory ones, including the driving at work policy, the desk and car parking space policy, the employee wellbeing survey, and looked at the results of that. And I just want to reiterate again my congratulations to the management team and the wider team for working so hard to put together a really big staff, but more importantly, a really happy staff. The results from that survey second year in were really, really good, and it's really encouraging to see that our staff are genuinely happy to be here on the whole. We looked at the mental health first aid training as an initiative to bring forward for staff and for councillors to put themselves forward to have that training. The performance improvement policy, the wellbeing and sickness absence policy, the whistleblowing policy. We heard an update on the work experience programme that had been put together for 9 students from Castle, Foxes and Perland schools who came in I think June and July across the spread of 2 or 3 weeks, and they had a fantastic time. The team put together a really comprehensive package across all different departments at the council. The feedback from the students and from the schools was really brilliant. They had a really good time and learnt a lot and actually contributed to quite a lot of council activities. And the team are really looking forward to expanding that programme next year to get more students in to get to know how local democracy works and what councils actually do. And then we discussed the White Ribbon Initiative, which is a scheme to combat violence against women, and approved adopting that scheme in the workplace. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Packer-Hughes. As Mayor, I was asked to participate in some of these events with the young people who came in. Very impressive group of young people, and it's heartwarming that we're liaising so closely with these students. So thank you very much for all the hard work that everybody put into making that a very successful enterprise. I was about to call on Councillor Nick O'Donnell for the operations and assets report on the 31st of July, but again, we'll hold that over until the next meeting. But these are the council working groups. So if you've got something burning that you feel you should say, please don't feel inhibited. Otherwise, we can defer that until the next meeting when the reports have come back through the chairs of the committees. So arts and culture in Taunton. Caroline Ellis, Councillor Caroline Ellis. Have you got anything you'd like to say on that?
No, just to say that we're going to reconvene on the 2nd of October in here, 12:30. I'm looking at somebody who I don't know if they'll be able to come. They will be. He'll be here. That's all right. Yeah, so that's all to be said on that. I mean, there's a lots going on arts and culture wise, obviously, and looking forward to the World Art Games, which Vanessa at Garside, Council Garside, is one of the kind of key instigators. So artists from all over the world are congregating in Taunton because Taunton is an artistic mecca. But it's thanks to the hard work of Vanessa and Richard at Kikik that they've chosen Taunton, and they'll be going back and extolling the wonders of Taunton to people across the globe, which is wonderful. And that'll be running sort of it'll be in synchrony with Taunton Together, obviously, which is happening on the 27th of September.
Believe I'm right in saying there are some 60 different countries represented, and they normally go to a capital around the world. But it's a major coup for Council Garside to bring them here to Taunton. So thank you for that. Climate and ecological emergency plan, Councillor Cathy.
Yeah, I think that might be a typo. I'm not the lead on that project. I think that would be Councillor Ellis again.
We were meant to meet on Monday, but Jordan, the wonderful Jordan, wasn't very well, so we're reconvening, and I'm sure we will meet again soon.
Thank you very much. Civic Task and Finish Group, for which I'm chairman. I don't know, is Joe here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were. Yes, I don't know whether you want to say a few words, Joe, anything that's burning interest.
Thank you, Chair. So when we met, which was way back in July, we talked about the reinstatement of the Mayor's Cadet as a project to pursue. We also looked at replacing the Mayor's Consort's payment on her chain as it had already broken, so we looked at different options. And I believe at the moment, members of the Civic Task and Finish Group are voting on their preferred options to secure that purchase. There's lots of activity going on, so there's lots of event plans being made at the moment. So the Civic Task and Finish Group have been giving a bit of a keen eye over things like our remembrance plans and funding committee and all manner of different activities. But in a nutshell, things are moving along nicely.
Thank you for that. The Town Twinning Working Group, which again is something that I look after, we've been liaising very closely with the two committees. As you know, the colleagues of the group have their party from Germany here this year. These visits occur here every 2 years. In the intervening years, we go out to France or Germany. And the colleagues of the group already had a leaflet. We are going to print one for Taunton Together for Lisieux. I was originally thinking about a composite leaflet that the working group produced, but it was decided that wasn't an expense which should fall on the council, that it properly falls within the two groups. But the two twinning groups now work very closely together, which is really encouraging. And many members of one group do support the other, both for the incoming and outgoing visits. So that's what I want to say on the twinning working group. Major project working group, which is a new working group which replaced such items as public toilets. Councillor Smith-Roberts, would you like to say anything on that?
Thank you, Chair. We met last night, and as ever, it's really busy agenda with lots of different things that the major project groups covers. There's about 12 different projects that are currently being looked after by the brilliant team. I'll start off with toilets because I can never not talk about toilets, and Paul Street toilets in particular. Everyone will have had, there was a slight delay where the contractor that we originally appointed couldn't then take on the work. But actually, I think I was there earlier on in the week, and Carissa, our newly appointed contractor, was there on site, and it's progressing really, really well. So that hopefully people will see that completed this side of Christmas, ready for Christmas shopping, hopefully. So that should be all going fine. The other big projects that are on the agenda range from looking at obviously the street trader sockets that we made a decision on earlier on in the year. We've got some play parks, so we've got some section 106 money that we're needing to make sure that that gets spent. So that's currently progressing well. The transport hub, or what local people know as the bus station, that's progressing well as well, where we're in the design phase. Goodland Gardens Bridge, again, being worked on by the project team and moving forward. And again, that's on our agenda this evening. So all those different things are kind of ticking along really nicely.
Just like to thank you, Councillor Smith-Roberts, for the really hard work that you've been continuing to do for some time now on the public toilets. That's an observation when I was in Cornwall. To use a public toilet, you have to find a 20p coin. You don't, as a visitor, always have a 20p coin with you, and the toilets themselves were stainless steel without seats. Our toilets really are absolutely superb, and I get very favourable comments, as I'm sure others do, from people in the town. So thank you for all the hard work that went into that.
If I can come back to it, it's not me, it's really the project team, some who are sat here alongside me. I champion them, but they do the fantastic work, as do all of our officers.
Thank you for that. Public transport, again, that's a working group that I chair. Just one comment, we had the Somerset Bus Partnership in Taunton this last weekend, actually in the Tourist Information Centre, which was an ideal location. It was very popular. It had a lot of people that were coming up to them to ask about buses and to report queries or complaints they had, which I know the Somerset Bus Partnership do take up. They asked me to visit them formally as mayor, which I did, and that's all I really want to bring up under that particular heading. Stewardship, Councillor Tom Deacon.
I don't think that is me as well, Chair. I think that might be a typo.
Play parks accessibility, Councillor Nick O'Donnell, he's not here, so we'll defer that. Hospitality, tourism and leisure working group, that's me. Only to say that I've been invited by GWR for a conference in Plymouth later this month. I'm in Plymouth already, there's no cost to the council, and they're recognising Taunton as a major point between the rest of the country and the southwest, and we're hoping to hear any time now that the rail card for Devon and Cornwall is being changed to the Peninsula rail card, which will specifically include Taunton within the rest of the southwest, which again is a major step forward, and I hope to report more on that in the future. I've been working very hard lobbying for Taunton's place as the gateway to the southwest, and it's being noted, so I will report back in due course on that. Councillor Ray Tully, Neighbourhood Plan Working Group. Anything to report?
Sorry.
I was just going to say Councillor Tully isn't the chair on that. He isn't a
Okay.
member, but it's Councillor Tully and Solly who are on that. And as I said, there's a meeting going on
Okay.
this Thursday to which all councillors, if of interest, are welcome to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. And finally, Young People's Working Group, Councillor Ellis, anything you'd like to report?
We need to have a meeting very quickly because we're going to have to make a recommendation to go out to tender on the specification that was agreed by whoever it was agreed by, Community and Place Committee, possibly here also. I can't remember, because it's over a certain amount. We've had it sort of properly looked at by experts at the National Youth Agency, and we will have to go out to tender. So that will be coming back to a committee very, very soon so we can get moving on it.
Thank you very much. Just as an observation, a number of working groups have grown. I just want to thank everybody for the hard work that's gone into this, councillors and officers. I think we are a very hard-working council. When you see the amount of effort that's going into these various projects, really is a source of pride for all of us. Move on to item 8, reports from outside bodies appointees. Are there any outside body appointees who would like to speak?
I'd like a moment. I know you've had my statement read out, but now they're stopping me speaking. It wasn't my fault. The door was locked downstairs and I couldn't get in.
This is for councillors, I'm afraid.
No.
No, okay, thank you. Item 9, to receive any reports or communication from Somerset councillors. Are there any Somerset councillors present who would like to give an update? And up to 5 minutes, please. Councillor Smith-Roberts.
Thanks, Chair. So if I'm wearing my Somerset hat, I've got a variety of different things to mention. Firstly, just really reiterating what Councillor Deane has said about the parking consultation that has been launched for people in Taunton to put their view across, where for Taunton there'll be charges looking to be introduced on a Sunday, so that it looks from a Somerset Council's point of view to provide is it parity, the word I'm looking for, across the county area, where in other areas, I won't say somewhere like Street and Wells, they currently charge on a Sunday. So please do put your comments on. Just commenting on a Facebook post isn't actually commenting on a consultation. So just need to make sure that people are aware of that. Some other things that have happened from a Somerset Council point of view, I guess, since we last met. It may be in Wellington, but it does benefit the way that traffic flows through Taunton. The fact that junction 26 and the A38 Chelston link opened ahead of schedule. I haven't driven it myself. I've seen some pictures, but it does look rather smooth. And I think traffic hopefully is flowing a little bit better there. I think that's the first time it's been done in 50 years. So hopefully it's going to last another 50 years and will all work very well. Other things that just been kind of happening. I attended the Walk for Life event that took place on Saturday. That was really well attended. That's about openly talking about mental health and suicide. There must have been nearly 100 people, if not more, there, and was a really poignant event to go to, where people were remembering people, but just remembering that we all need to talk about our mental health and be kind to each other. Somerset has also received a £3.8 million grant, or nearly that, for inclusive electric vehicle charging networks. So they are looking for areas to put in EV charging, and some more is going. Some more information can be found online about that. Other things that they've just kind of been up to, that just to make people aware of, is it may be in Yeovil, but it applies across all of Somerset, is that 2 landlords in Yeovil have received banning orders for repeated housing standard breaches. It's just something to make people aware of. There are things that unitary authorities do that kind of just tickle along in the background, but they do keep people safe. So things like tackling landlords that have HMOs is an important issue, and you can find it lots more on the website.
Thank you, Councillor Smith-Roberts. Councillor Deane.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Relating to my Taunton North division, so it was wonderful to see the Pride and Prizewood events taking place over the summer, really well attended. Thank you to Councillor Isaacs again for joining me for the day on the Town Council stand there, but it was great to see so many people out enjoying that, and the community centre do an amazing job each summer, so a delight to see that happening again. Second was just to mention Stony Furlong Field, where we've had a number of unauthorised encampments in recent weeks, and I'm delighted that I've now been able to secure additional measures on that field, so new bollards. So thank you to residents for their patience whilst that's been happening. Very much appreciated. The third is on the public rights of way out towards from Boston Drive out north towards Cheddon. That's now been the Somerset Council Public Right of Way team have stripped that back and relayed to try and make that better access for walkers who use that a lot, particularly in the colder weather. And thank you to Councillor Fraschini, who I know has also raised that issue as well. So thank you for doing so. And fourth and final point for me is just I'm really pleased that Somerset Council committed an additional £1.7 million towards Selworthy School, which sits in my division, to provide an extra 24 places for children in our community with additional needs. So I'm really proud that the council is delivering that, and it will really help send provision in our area. There's much more to do, but it's a significant step forward.
Thank you, Councillor Deane. Councillor Ellis, yes, I think you have something you wanted to say.
Yeah, no, we had a brilliant French Weir Park Family Fun Day towards the end of August, 24th of August. And I just want to pay tribute really to the hard work of the Friends of French Weir Park group. It is quite some undertaking. There's so many different activities. It's hugely fun, loads of free activities, lots of families having a lovely
very low cost day out, and I just want to say thank you to them for all the work that they do, putting on these great events in the park for us. It's just really, really welcome. We've had a bit of an issue in my division on Galmington Road. An in-post locker materialised overnight almost. And people were like, "Oh, that's not meant to be there." And indeed, it wasn't meant to be there because they didn't have the correct permissions and whatever. So it's been the enforcement team at Somerset. I'll give them their dues. They really were on it. And so the lock has been removed. There's still a slab on the pavement, but they've also reminded in post that they really ought to get rid of said slab because it's a trip hazard. We've had an interesting time with the installation of the new security measures at French Weir. I won't get into that now, but there's a lot of need to really get onto that because there are a number of issues with the way the work's been carried out and the specific spec of the bollard. So that's been an interesting one over the last week. I'm sure we'll debate that more fully and in due course, and I'm sure there's work going on behind the scenes in terms of remedial action to make sure that not only can people wanting to unlawfully camp not get in, but that emergency services can get in and that the things are the right spec. So hopefully that will all get resolved. Cheekily, again, to mention the Sunday car parking charges consultation, I've already responded and objected in an individual capacity. It's important when you do the consultation online, it asks you at the end, you want your responses to be considered an objection to the traffic orders. Oh, yes, you do. Okay, you do. You might, but yes, I'm a bit sort of, I've got my mind made up about that. I think it's a shame that there haven't been options and there hasn't been prior working with us to actually the town council, because some of their other proposals on charging are going to be subject to like area by area, looking at things area by area to understand more the impact of other things. And I'm just thinking, well, that could have been useful here. But anyway, we will just, I'm sure we will discuss that more fully imminently.
Thank you very much, Caroline. So that takes us to the end of item 9. Item 10, this is procedural. Members to note the forward plan to full council. Councillor Beacon.
Yeah, it's just one small point on this one. Sorry, Mr. Mayor. There's an item which was listed for today, which I think is now probably going to come to a future meeting, which is an agenda request relating to Merrills. That's put down in both Councillor Fraschini and my name. I think technically Councillor Fraschini submitted the agenda request form, so it should sit in his name. Whilst I'm fully supportive of what's being achieved and have written emails in support, that should be amended to be in Councillor Fraschini's name.
Thank you for clarifying that. I now move on to item 10. Members to note the forward plan for full council. Do I have a proposer? Thank you, Councillor Pollard. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Deacon. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstentions? I declare that motion confirmed. I now come on to a very special item on the agenda. It's a motion of best thanks to the Reverend Toby Osman. This council wishes to, can I see Toby? Thank you. This council wishes to place on record its heartfelt thanks and deep appreciation to the Reverend Toby Osman for his exceptional service to the people of Taunton and to this council. Toby has devoted more than 25 years to the ministry, beginning his journey here in Taunton before serving in Bath, Toronto, which by the way, yes, is the other side of the world, and Wales, and ultimately returning to lead as Vicar of Taunton Minster and St John's. Since his arrival in 2019, he has given unstintingly of his time, his faith, and his energy, guiding the Minster community through significant moments of growth and change, including its formal designation as a Minster in March 2022. Above all, this council is most grateful for Toby's wide-ranging activities in Taunton and his unwavering support for the town council's civic responsibilities. His support for this council stretches back to his earliest days with a close relationship, close connection to the civic team that has endured throughout his time in Taunton. He's played a vital role in annual remembrance commemorations, mayor-making ceremonies, civic services, and other celebratory events. His humour and warmth shone through in lighter moments, not least when he took over the role of compere that carols around the bandstand, though his fondness for questionable dad jokes will live long in the memory. In times of challenge and sorrow, Toby has also provided invaluable leadership and strength. Town will long remember his calm and compassionate presence following the passing of Her late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, when he offered words and prayers that brought comfort to many at a moment of national mourning. The council records its profound gratitude for the way Toby worked so closely with us during this time. The town council could not have delivered such fitting and dignified commemorations without his guidance and support. Always approachable, always willing to listen, Toby has brought warmth, humour and humanity to every aspect of his work in this town. His ministry has been a gift, his friendship a blessing, and his contribution to both the parish and civic life of Taunton have been truly invaluable. What colleagues, particularly those in our civic functions, have valued most is Toby's consistently positive, can-do attitude, never deterred by difficulty, always willing to lend a hand, and ever ready to encourage others with good humour and optimism. In offering this motion of best thanks, the council also extends the very best wishes to Toby and his family as they move forward together into the next season of their lives. He will be greatly missed, but the legacy of faith, service and kindness will endure within this town for many years to come. I now move forward the motion that the best thanks of the council be accorded to Reverend Toby Osman in recognition of his exceptional service to the people of Taunton and to Taunton Town Council. I call on the leader to second the motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm absolutely delighted to be able to second this this evening. It's wonderful to have you and your family here, Toby. We've got to know each other a bit over the previous few years, and I have to say that as becoming leader of the town council, as we were going through quite a lot of change and transition and new things and exploring new ways of doing things and not having an office and all these kind of things and teams, that you need people who you can rely on. And you've truly been someone in our community who we've been able to rely on. Someone who will just get the job done, who will be there when you need them to be, someone who you just know will just get it right when they need to. And those people are really, truly special. In my view, they're true patriots to our country. And I think that's what you are. So thank you for all of your support, both for this council and previously. It is hugely appreciated. And I personally wish you and your family all of the best for the future.
Do any other councillors wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Ellis.
Yes, I am absolutely gutted, but I'm also so happy for you, and I'm sure you're going on to do something wonderful. And I just send you all the best of my best wishes. But you have been a part of the heart of this town, and it's going to be pretty hard without you. You know that anyway, don't you? But I just wanted to say, you made the Minster, two things really. You made the Minster such a welcoming place. I'm not really a practicing Christian, but I always just felt enveloped in hope and joy and inclusivity in the Minster. And I think that everyone felt that. And I also want to say you made a huge contribution to arts and culture in this town, because you had a very strong vision of the Minster being so much more than a place of worship. It literally was. It became a major sort of centre for art installations with Luke Jerram's. We had thousands of people coming through the doors to enjoy the moon and then the earth, which was amazing. And there's been so many exhibitions hosted there and so many wonderful concerts and opera. That place it's so much more than just a Minster even. I mean, it really is. And yes, you were an impossible act to follow. Thank you for all that you've done, and hopefully all that goodness will have rubbed off and it will be a lasting legacy. Thank you.
Councillor Toosey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a minor point from me, really. I happened to be at a christening on Sunday, And when we returned to West Monkton Village Hall for tea and sandwiches, numerous family members and friends expressed to me, because they don't normally go to the church or civic events or whatever, just how sort of friendly and welcoming and kind of fun you made the ceremony. So I just thought I'd add that because it's fresh in my mind, and thank you from myself as well for all you've done for the town. Thank you.
Councillor Garside.
I'd just like to sort of endorse everything else and thank you very much for all your kindness and your warmth and your support always. When I was the mayor, I really appreciated it on many occasions, and I really enjoyed your bad jokes.
That's Smith Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. What do I say, Toby? I think for the past, 6 more years since SWT and everything, you have truly been such a support for this town, and I can only really echo what others have said before me. I know that when I could come to you with like a crazy idea, or the council could come to you with a crazy idea, that you would go, yep, we can do it, or yes, we can host this, yes, you can have a meeting here. You just have made the Minster more than a place of worship. It truly is like an anchor and a community hub, so that people, I guess, see Christianity in all of its actions just subtly, and know that you are there, and you truly will be, a hard act to replace. For me and my family, you've reignited that faith to, for personally to baptise my twins. That's why I chose it, because I know that, what you offer, from being welcoming to refugees to championing pride, all of those kind of equality issues that where people in the margins feel welcome, is such a huge thing. And I know my daughter will also truly miss you.
Councillor Smith Roberts. And is there anybody else who might take the opportunity to say something? Well, I'd just like to add a personal.
You moved.
I made my previous statement on behalf of the whole council, but I'd just like to add a personal comment to you, Toby. As many of you know, I'm Jewish. I'm actually the second Jewish mayor in nearly 150 years here in Taunton. And I just want to say, Toby, how welcome you've made me feel. I feel really quite moved, because every time I come into the Minster, I feel part of it. And that's in no small part to you. So I just want to add to the comments of my colleagues and say thank you so much, Toby. And I'd now like to present a certificate to Toby. We'll have a photograph taken. Oh, I'm so sorry. We've got to actually say we've had a proposal of seconder. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstention? It has been resolved unanimously that the best thanks of the council be accorded to Reverend Toby Osman in recognition of his exceptional service to the people of Taunton and to Taunton Town Council. Now, Toby, I'd like to formally present you with a certificate.
Yes.
For posterity.
He's moved place.
Can I
Any of you?
I respond? I don't want to
Over
actually
like
meeting. I
respond.
know it's going on a month, but that was truly embarrassing. Thank you very much. This town is awesome. It's an awesome town. It's been really great to work here for the last 6 years, very closely with a number of you. So just keep going, and keep using the Minster.
So Craig, any other crazy ideas? Just works very quick and rare. You know, there is still the opportunity, and it will just continue to grow. The town will grow, and it's just been an honour to work with you. So thank you. And unfortunately, it's the witching hour of my son, so probably going to scoot out and get to bed. So it has been true honour to be here and to work with you. Thank you so much.
Okay, as far as it goes, just to say to everybody, 5th of October, I believe, is the date of the final service at the Minster, and I believe all are welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, Pat's funeral on Friday. I don't know how widely it's been known that the time has changed. It is 11:30 and not 11 o'clock. So it is 11:30 on Friday the 12th. But yes, along to my last service. I mean, I'm going to try and make it fun.
Yes, right. Back to business. Item 12, vehicles procurement. I'd like to call on our operations and assets manager, Paul Grant, to introduce this item. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, everybody. So this is hopefully a fairly straightforward proposal whereby a little while ago now, Ops and Assets Committee supported getting some replacement electric vehicles, getting rid of the diesel transit pickup that we have. We've since sort of evolved into particularly the open spaces section, and we've sort of got used to how we're doing things. We've taken on the work, we've got schedules sorted out, and we're delivering works in a slightly different way, which splits up having to pair people up all the time, and gives greater efficiencies in the way that we can actually deliver services. So because there is a preference, rather than using the agreed capital budget for purchasing replacement vans, which was agreed previously, the proposal now is to lease, including the servicing within those lease costs. So we're looking at replacement vehicles per the report that you have in front of you. But because the value of those leases over the period of the lease exceeds financial limit of £100,000, we have to come to full council for your approval to but for the 3 recommendations which are included. And those are, firstly, to support the existing capital budget of 90,000 for new and replacement vans, code 1356241, to be wired to van stroke equipment hire 1306248, and vehicle leases 1306262, as leasing is preferred over outright purchase. Recommendation B is to support the transfer of budget funds from 1356241 capital new and replacement vans to 1306262 vehicle leases. And there's an additional recommendation adjustment to support the clerk in entering into an appropriate lease agreement for the procurement of the necessary 5 electric vehicles. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any councillors comments to wish to make? Councillor Ellis.
This is a comment, but I just thank you very much for this. I really appreciate the hard work that goes into, you know, we're trying to electrify our fleet and avoid the use of diesel and get rid of, replace any old diesel that we might have had to buy early on. So I really appreciate this. It seems like a very sensible way forward. And I just look forward to the day when we have an all electric everything. Because we do have a very strong commitment to be a zero carbon council, and I think we can more or less achieve that in the next few years, and I think that will be a big achievement. And as a new council, maybe we can help other councils who are just beginning their sort of EV journey, but by the time, you know, if in a few more months, you'll have a wealth of experience to pass on and pitfalls to avoid and whatnot. So I just see this as a positive and very practical move.
Councillor Ellis, anybody else? Do I have a proposer? Councillor Ellis, do I have a seconder? Pam went up.
Councillor Pollard.
Councillor Pollard, thank you very much. All those in favour? All those against? Any abstention? Declare that unanimously confirmed. That brings me on to item 13, Goodland Gardens design quote. And I'll call on Deputy Clerk Marcus Prowse to introduce the item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hope the council has had a chance to read the report, which has been prepared by my colleague, the corporate business manager, in my absence. So members are asked to consider the use of still funding to instruct the firm to undertake principal designer duties in connection with proposed reconstruction of the footbridge at Goodland Gardens, Taunton. And you would have had an update from the project's lead about this matter via email last month. It's obviously taken us longer than expected to get this procurement of a designer process in place. Obviously, I think the last time you considered this matter was in January earlier this year. And that delay was mainly due to the need to obtain comparable quotes that meet our procurement regulations. There's been some back and forth with suppliers to ensure the quotes are aligned in terms of scope and detail, which meant we weren't able to work as quickly as initially intended. But happy to take any further questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Marcus. Any comments from councillors? Councillor Ellis.
So I think this would be a great leap forward in the history of the the long haul to get a replacement footbridge at Goodland Gardens, which of course the council has agreed to in principle back in January, whenever it was. Was it even earlier than that? And so I really welcome this because I've been very anxious to move us on to the next stage, and this is the critical next stage that we're looking at, because we need a design company to oversee all the, we have to get planning permission, so there need to be drawings, the spec for the bridge, the design of it, all needs to be thought through, public consulted, and obviously the public, when we've had a consultation in the past, there were a lot of responses and there was a very huge response in favour for replacing this bridge. I'll just remind people why it's so important. It's a key active travel link across town, so it's not just people from my neck of the woods in North Town who use it to get into the town centre, but people from other areas use it again, either to access the doctors at French Weir, to just have a lovely walk along the river and access the park, or access Long Run. And it's for a lot of people, it's caused, the absence of the bridge has caused them a huge inconvenience. So it stopped kind of anxious young people from having a really easy way route to college, for example. And then if you do the Somerset Museum's wonderful Town on the Tone tour, right? So we want tourism here in Taunton, we want to boost tourism. They have these walking tours, the museum, and there's one that's all about the history of Taunton and the role the river has played in our history. And it's awesome because you start off at the museum, you kind of meander around Goodland's Gardens, and you should be able to just hop over the river and have a beautiful riverside stroll into French Weir, but you can't. You've got to go up onto the third way and across massive busy junctions and busy roads. So what's that saying about Taunton? We had a bridge, a very simple little bridge that did an awful lot because it connected up one side to the other, and it gave us that continuous route right from Longman Meadow and the Park and Ride all the way down through the green, along the river, straight into the heart of town, and that's now gone. And the fate of the footpath along the side, the pound stretcher development is, I think, on the ropes now. Acorn had a great proposal to do with that, and I fear that is slightly going up the Swanee. So we don't know. We need that footpath as well, yeah, but we can't rely on it. And even if that site is developed, it will be out of use for a long time. So this bridge is practical. I am very emotionally attached to this because I grew up in Taunton, and I remember as a little girl walking across there and going to feed the geese when there were geese in Goodland's Gardens. It's a key feature for many of us from all different parts of town, actually. It's a kind of key facet. It's one of the things that lends Taunton its charm, and we want our bridge back.
Councillor Ellis.
Councillor Solly, then Councillor Evans.
Councillor Solly, then Councillor Evans.
Thank you. Whilst I agree with Caroline, thank you so much. I think there's a lot of perks with the Goodland Gardens Bridge, but I think it keeps coming back to me whenever the Goodland Garden comes up in any of the itinerary, that as time goes by, I don't know whether it's kind of slightly proving to me as time goes by that is it actually needed and is day to day not using it, proving that maybe the spending or the need to put a new bridge, is it a priority at this present point? I'm just being mindful. Obviously, this is another quote to put forward and to possibly accept. I think it's mindful to keep to be aware of that as time goes by. That just putting it out there. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sorry, Councillor Evans.
Sorry, while we're talking about bridges, the other bridge on Goodland Gardens, going towards the museum. I'm a bit concerned because I've seen quite a few people going over and it becomes a bit of a trip hazard, because it's a bit of a log there. Not that I'm trying to stir another bridge debate, but obviously I'm just thinking of health and safety and obviously access with wheelchairs, pushchairs in general. There may become an issue at some point, so we need to sort of think of that at some point, if that's possible.
You've got Councillor Deacon next.
Councillor Deacon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is one of those topics that I'll be honest, I've underlined over probably since we first started discussing it. In principle, I'm supportive of the action we've been taking. I voted in principle to support the extended work when we last voted on it. I have to say I'm struggling a bit now with the next steps on this bridge. I think some things have changed since we took that decision. I think the path opening is a change that does substantially change that area. Future-proofing that to make sure that is permanently there, I agree, is something that needs to happen. I actually think the imagery of the river has now changed, and I have quite a lot of nervousness that what the public are expecting is not what's going to happen. So regardless of what design we choose, the existing historical view of that arch bridge is not what will be put back in place as the result of these works. It will be a modern structure across that area, and I actually worry that although people believe they really want it now, once the work's happened, they look at it in situ and think, I actually preferred the view when it wasn't here. It was actually a nicer walk down the river when that thing wasn't there. It looks like, I can see the comments now, it looks like the council have just plonked something modern on something historic. I've got slight nervousness about what I think people's image of what might actually be ends up being, because I don't know if they're necessarily the same. I also struggle a bit at the moment where we've got competing things that we want to do. So if investing in this project at multiple hundreds of pounds means we invest in one or two fewer parks, or that it means we have to ask people to pay a bit more on their council tax precept, I'm just really struggling to understand if it's, and to think through whether it's the right value for money at this moment for this council to be taking. So at the moment, I have to say I'm leaning, in all honesty, and this is not to say because it's not a good project and not because it's not loved by many people, because I have no doubt that it is. At the moment, I'm leaning to say that I don't think that we should probably be progressing with this project in the current circumstances.
Councillor Gus.
No, it's Councillor Smith
I'm
Roberts.
sorry, Councillor Smith Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. And it's interesting to hear Councillor Deacon speak about their views as to what we do. For me, I've always been honest, a bit like that. I, didn't support it when we voted back in January. However, I think what would be good to do now is probably to progress to design stage and move forward with this paper as it is, and then revisit it after that, because I think we're seeing this as a staged project, if I want to go from the top of my head. And so rather than to halt the project today, which is if we didn't vote for this now, then it wouldn't even get to this page. I think we can then discuss what we do moving forward, because none of this today is committing the full hundreds of thousands to be spent, is it?
It's about, is it about 18,000?
It's 18,000, which I think would give us a design about what we want to happen. It can then go out to the public post that about, do we continue? Because I do think Councillor Deacon is right. There are lots of competing demands. And if we were to put a poll on the wall of, would you like youth facilities? Would you like your parks done? Would you like this done? I'm not sure that this would probably come in the top 3. I'd like to be proven wrong, because that's what consultation is about. But I do think that you can't consult or even go out and see what people want to do without showing them what it looks like. And I do think Tom has a valid point in the fact that does rechange the vista now. That's what it's like. And I think Taunton Independent Quarter did a beautiful photo of what our town looks like. Looking up the river the other night, and it would change that, and it isn't going to be what was there before. And people like to think about what things were like before. I think I see it a lot with the parade, whether or not you agree with whether there's cobbles and all those other things. They hark back to a time of what it was rather than what it is now or what it is going to be.
So look at our side, I think.
No, it's Councillor Stone.
Councillor Stone.
It's, oh, okay. Trust Jeannie, then it's.
I think Councillor Susie wants to say something.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have to say on this bridge, I know there's a emotion thing about it, and for me, obviously, I'm not a long-term person in Taunton. But with my accent, I'm not a local, although I've been here for 15 years. And the bridge for me, and for many people I know, is a very practical bridge. And yes, well, in this would use Tom about saying it would change the vision. The bridge, and sometimes it's difficult moving from what is an old style, and it's not necessarily a functional style, into something modern that's workable. That route is the only pedestrian and cycle route that is completely car free to get from Goodland Gardens Bridge, Goodland Gardens across into French Weir. Now I cycle quite a lot, and both those bridges, the road bridges, are dangerous to go onto from Goodland Gardens. I've been getting off twice onto the new bridge because the access is shocking. Because there's confusion as to the lanes when you come onto the bridge. Now, I'm sort of quite a bit older and I've been cycling a long time, but a lot of youngsters haven't. I would dread to think about youngsters cycling out of Goodland Gardens onto those road bridges. Now, it's about being a functional bridge. It's not just about it being pretty, and it's not just about emotions from the past. It's about saying you need to have good structure. If you want people to cycle and to walk, keep them away from cars. It's really important. So we need to think long and hard about what the importance of what this bridge's function actually is going to be. And I do agree with Councillor Smith-Roberts. I think we need to move to the next stage, and we need to look at what that bridge is going to be like. We start saying, yeah, we've got other things we need to fund. There's a lot of people wanting to do it.
Councillor Frascini.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm going to return the favour to Councillor Deacon from earlier this year, and I would say I agree with Councillor Deacon. My position hasn't changed, and I can't vote for this because I don't believe the bridge project is necessary or a value for money. When, as rightly said, Councillor Deacon point, there are other projects that are more pressing than a bridge, and I think it's down to the practicality of it. The bridge is in the middle of the river, so either way you have to go 100 yards up that way or 100 yards down that way to get round to the other side of the river. Is spending nearly 200 grand, 250 grand on a bridge for that length value for money when people can walk around? There are designated cycle lanes to go around. If they need improving, then I would support improving those, paying contribution to support to improve those, but not spending hundreds of thousands of pounds on a bridge, which I don't think is needed. And I think if you were to, like Councillor Smith-Roberts said, put a survey, a consultation or a poll or whatever, the bridge would be at the bottom if people were to put it on values of money. What they want is other services. And that's why I support Councillor Tolley's comments. You know, there are, yeah, for me, I'm just going to leave it there. My position hasn't changed. I don't think it's a necessity for the town. I have no feeling here or there whether it's going to make this, the atmosphere or the look of ugly or pretty or whatever. In fact, I probably would go to say that the old style bridge would have kept that picturesque feeling as opposed to a horrible metallic modern feel. It will give you a completely different feel, but for me it's not irrelevant anyway, because I don't think it's value for money and I don't think the project's viable, to be honest. So that's really just me.
Yeah.
Councillor Garside.
Councillor Garside.
Yes, I've lived in Wilton for 30 years and I've always used that bridge. I always use that bridge to get into North Town. I have friends in North Town. I used to live on Wood Street. I had some very close friends in that area and I used to go and visit them quite often and use that bridge. Now I have to go a considerable way around, and not only has that bridge, have I lost the bridge, but there also used to be a little back way I could get into North Town, get to French Weir Park. That's been closed off. That not only has that been closed off, but then we've also lost the bridge and I have to go a long way around, and I am not getting any younger, and so it's a long way for me to go and see my friends in North Town, and one of them has had a baby whom I wanted to go and I wanted to go and spend some time with her to be supportive. And I actually found it a real hassle to walk around. I don't like to walk beside streams of traffic. It's no fun at all. It's it's an ordeal. And I think, for older people, it's nice to have that bridge, that access just cuts across the town. It's good for young people, as Caroline said, who are going to school in other parts of the town. It was a wonderful shortcut. It's a scenic route, and you're out of the traffic flow. And it's a very valuable asset to the town, which we've lost. And we've lost not only one but two ways of actually getting from one part of town to the other. And and I would be very sad if this project did not go ahead.
Thank you, Councillor Garside.
Councillor Toosner.
Councillor Toosner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I've supported the bridge all the way along in the different stages up to now. My reservations, if I had any, were the same as Councillor Deacon's, that the bridge that we lost was a very different built at a very different time. It was very difficult to get up. If you were on a bike, it's quite steep, let alone get push chairs, etc. And I do fear that although I agree with the principle of the bridge, I do fear that when the public see what they're the functional, it's good function, it is to all the health and safety, etc., and accessibility. I do think there will be some people who are disappointed when they see that. I mean, the thing to say is that the bridge near Morrison's, other councils have voted to remove that and turn it and make it a steel bridge with long things. So we've done that to that side of the river. So to say we're making the vista look less attractive, I think we've done that opposite Morrison's, although you could argue it's not quite the same. But I totally agree with Councillor Smith-Roberts. I think we should get the designs back, and I think we should all as members work hard to get those designs. If we get the design back, to get it out into the public and to get people's views, because what I would say is, I don't get a great deal of responses about things as a town councillor, but I have had responses from people on Bath Place supporting the bridge project. So I have to listen to what the 3 or 4 or 5 people at different parts of the town have written to me about as a councillor. Those people wrote to me in support of the bridge. No one has written me to say that it's a waste of money. I know as a member I need to do more than that to consider things, but I would add that. But I'd like us to move forward to the next stage and then work really hard with all the right facts and figures to come to the right decision.
Thank you. Councillors who haven't yet spoken.
Councillor Packer Hughes, then Councillor Tully, then Councillor Nick O'Donnell, then Councillor Simon Lester, and then finish off with Councillor Isaac.
First support is Councillor
Packer Hughes.
Councillor Packer Hughes.
Thank you very much, Chair.
I'm aware that last time we debated this, I spoke quite strongly in favour of the bridge, and that my words might have actually swayed the opinions of some of the other councillors in the room. I came from quite an emotional place, as well as having some kind of practical considerations. I have to say, I am actually in agreement with lots of people who've spoken here in some ways, but particularly what Tom said in terms of being aware of the other projects that we have, the other draws on our money, and as time has gone on, I'm aware of so many other projects that I personally feel are more important at the moment. And I still think the bridge is a great thing to be able to do, but I'm not sure now is the time. But I'm also aware that what Councillor Smith-Roberts said, that actually having those designs is going to be key to that decision. So I was very much on the fence about what to do with that particular motion, but I think progressing forward to the design stage is going to be the best way for us to be informed. I think there are issues with what people's expectations are and what the reality could be, particularly in terms of the on and off ramps, with the amount of pushback that was received, particularly on local social media, about the plans for the Morrison's Bridge, with the size of the on ramps and the impact that would have, the way that might change the structure in Goodland Gardens on both sides of the river. The size of the on and off ramps are going to be so much bigger and so much higher than the previous ones. I think having those designs is going to be key to getting quality feedback from members of the public as to what they think, and we as councillors as to what we're actually voting on. I know it's an expense to go to get those plans. We can't make a really qualified decision unless we have them. But I am less supportive of the overall measure of the bridge than I was previously, just in view of the other draws on our finances at the moment.
Councillor Tully.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think we're now at the point of no return. If we have the design done, we will have to go forward. We can't explain to people we're going to spend £17,499.70 on nothing, and so we're not going to do it. I think if we're going to go, we've got to make one decision now. We can't go halfway. Thank you.
Might be a good idea. I think the officer has got a good point to raise. If we could just bring her in just to clarify on the design process, if that's okay.
Yes, if you could, please.
Excuse me, thank you. Just to confirm, so this quote is to do the principal designer of the substructure for the bridge, so the ramps, the foundation, brief design of the bridge, which will then allow a contractor to tender for the works to do the full design. So this quote won't produce the full design of the bridge itself, the superstructure as well. You need the initial designs for the planning and the ramps as well. So just to clarify that point.
Councillor Nick O'Donnell.
Councillor O'Donnell.
Thank you, Chair, and apologies for my lateness. Something bad I managed to make it for this. I'd like to start off. I think, to counter one of the arguments we've heard today, putting the bridge back over the river will not improve cycling, because there's no cycle route leading to the bridge. So you've got to cycle through the traffic before you can get there. So I would refute the idea that it's going to aid cyclists. And also, once you get the other side, you're now in a park, and you know, it's always an interesting issue when you're mixing cyclists and pedestrians in a park. I know full well, for many years, I cycled across Goodland Gardens Bridge on my way home from school. Up to the moment they opened the new bridge. After that point, I never cycled over Goodland Gardens Bridge again. It was far easier, and it's a really good bridge for cyclists, that new bigger way. My personal view is, from just an environmental view, when I stand on the Toby Bridge and I look down the river, I see that Taunton now has a wonderful new vista. And from an environmental view, I would like to protect that vista. I think it's beautiful and it's an asset to this town. And my worry is that if we go for a bridge, in the end, we're not going to spend huge money on it. So it's going to be the cheapest version. It's going to be modern, and it's going to be functional. And I'm looking at what will the view from the town bridge be like with that bridge there, because at the moment it's really nice. And I think as a town council, we've got a lovely view, and I'm wondering whether we should now be protecting that view. We had two very good bridges either side. So I would counter that putting that bridge would reduce walking time. I don't think it would. I think it counts that bridge and you made that point. And I'm also concerned that actually to fund it, we're using still money from two housing projects from opposite ends of the town that are at least 2 to 3 miles from this bridge. Surely we should be using that seal money for the benefit of those communities there. You know, that could be funding a lot of things. So that is my view. I think we've got a lovely view down that river now, and I don't think the bridge will add anything for pedestrian or cyclists, but I think the lack of a bridge will make us a much more picturesque town to visit.
So Simon Lester, and then you can finish off on it.
Councillor Lester, I want to say something.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd also like to apologise for being late. So, I actually, a number of people have covered my thoughts that now is not the time to decide. I think that having designs to actually review and circulate will be the opportunity to truly gauge what people think. And in defence of modern design, just because it's practical and new doesn't mean it's ugly.
Okay. Is there anybody else that we haven't
Got
heard?
Councillor Isaac, then Councillor Pollard, and then it'd be yourself, and that's everybody then that's spoken.
So it's Councillor Isaac first. Councillor Isaac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would. This is obviously there's some strong views both ways on this at the minute. I don't feel we have enough information to make an informed decision of either way to go. So I would fully support my colleague Councillor Smith Roberts and her view that until we get some further designs and funds, what things will actually cost on a finished article. So I'd like to support that. I don't feel I can make an informed decision with it as it is at the minute. I'd like to progress it further to see what the designs are. Thank you.
Councillor Pollard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wasn't able to vote on the first time it came here as I haven't been elected yet. However, the only time I ever heard about this when I was campaigning and speaking with residents was them basically saying that they thought that there would be better things for the money to be spent on. It is quite a bit of money to be spent on the bridge. And also from what I understand here, even if we went ahead with this today and then spent the money to get the designs, I think a lot of us would probably still have the same opinion, which would then be we would have spent money on something that then we still say no to anyway. At least that's what my position would be. I don't think I would change my mind on it personally.
Is that everybody?
Yeah, it might be worth, Marcus was just going to clarify about the money that has been spent.
Marcus, if you could just clarify.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, just to Councillor Pollard's point, really, we spent as a council £25,000 circa on this matter to date, and obviously adding another 17.5. So if you didn't then proceed later on, as obviously as you go further down the stages, you are spending more and more money, and then if you decide at a later date not to go ahead with the install. Just want to make that clear. Thank you, Chair.
Somebody who hasn't spoken yet?
No, everybody has spoken.
Only once, one on it.
Let me ask Marcus a question though, from what he's come back.
I don't know.
So can we ask for a bit of extra information if I've got a question?
Yeah, he can give some more information, yeah.
Yes, okay.
All right, to yeah.
Yes.
So thanks, Marcus, for that. So just to get to the point, because obviously I support Ray's statement regarding how much money we're going to get to and then not actually potentially build this thing, and residents won't be exactly too enamored with that. As we've just discovered that this £17,000 isn't the actual designs itself that people are saying they need to base their decision on later on down the line. How much more money will this council have to spend to get to that point? Because this is just the structural side. Then you'll want to see the design element side as well. How many more thousands of pounds is that going to be?
Somebody might have the answer to that question.
So this we'll do the quotes for the excuse me, sorry, this will do the designs for the substructure, the ramps. Like I said, it will do a briefer design of the bridge. So for example, the gradient, the materials, a vague outline of the structure, of which we would then have to take that information into a tender package, which a bridge contractor would actually then do the full detailed designs. I can't give a figure of how much that second stage of designs would cost, because we need to go out to tender in order to get those costs. So unfortunately, I can't give you an exact figure on that one.
May I just come back?
I think that's the conclusion of the debate. Everybody's had their say. Otherwise, this is going to go on or leave.
Well, it's kind of key to the debate.
I just had a question to Marcus, that was all.
Well, we're only supposed, under our protocols, to have one comment. Right, I'll start to rule. Can we take another comment to Marcus?
If there's a question based on the report, you can ask the questions on the report, but obviously you've had your discussion, so it's not to go back to the councillors to make second statements.
Absolutely. That's why I really think we ought to move on. Once we continue this, everybody's going to start having extra points. I think we've had enough discussion this evening. I'm sorry, I'm going to close the debate. I just want to make a statement on my own position. I cannot make a comment one way or the other, but because of the contention, I will possibly have to make a casting vote. If that is the case, I will have to state my position. In the absence of that, I will not be voting. Now, is that a point of order, Councillor Solly, that you're raising?
Yeah.
Under what heading is your point of order?
Sorry, there's a since being a councillor and every single time coming to a full council, the whole idea of being a councillor and being in this room and for these meetings is to talk about debate. And with councillors talking, it revolves the conversation and it comes to a conclusion. Only having one say and then not being able to say anything else on the conversation. I understand that there may be things that say, there has to be, information going forward into the conversation that actually comes to a conclusion. But just saying, to a council, you can only say one thing. I'm sorry, but what's the point of me being in this room tonight to just say one thing?
Well, I can answer that now, sir, because that's what our protocol says. If we want to change the protocols, that's a completely different matter.
I've not been made aware.
I mentioned this before.
Well, I have been told by the town clerk that this is what our procedures are. So I've got to refer back to the town clerk just to confirm that particular one.
Yeah, Ollie, do you want to just read out what it says in the standing orders? It's under section 1.15, I think it is.
Yeah, so councillors aren't. I'm just going to make. Yeah, thank you, Chair. So unless permitted by the Chair of the meeting, council may speak once in the debate on a motion except to speak on an amendment moved by another councillor, to move or speak on another amendment if the motion has been amended since they last spoke, to make a point of order, to give a personal explanation, or to exercise the right to reply.
So are you saying, according to standing orders, the chair has the right to accept a second point? Is that what you're saying? Because I was under the impression I couldn't do that.
Yeah, so it's unless permitted by the chair of the meeting.
Okay, so I will take 3 further points and that's it, in order. I think Councillor Evans had a hand up. Please keep comments brief. We need to close this.
Yeah, I'm not opposing the
bridge designs or anything, but the damage on Morrison's Bridge right now and the damage by the bridge by the museum, we need to focus on that damage before we're stuck on other bridges that need to be fixed, because otherwise we're going to be on the same boat again. Really.
And a point of clarification, those bridges have nothing to do with Taunton Town Council, Somerset Council. Goodland Gardens Bridge comes under the auspices of Taunton Town Council, which is why we're discussing this. Councillor Solly?
Yes,
and one more comment after that.
Yeah, sorry. So yeah, the reason why I was talking about that is obviously for informative conversation to come back to make this conversation come to a conclusion. So thank you very much for clarifying that. So thank you. I think with the costs that have been spent, I think this is we're at the stage. I personally think we're going to be spending another £18,000. I think we've kind of, in my opinion, we're either making decisions to do the bridge or we're not. We can't keep spending, say, 25k here, 18k next month to kind of come to a small conclusion, to then spend another 15k, 20 grand, I don't know, pulling numbers out of my head, in 4 months' time, to then spend 200 grand on the bridge. Before we know it, this bridge is going to cost the whole price of the whole M5. So, I'm just being mindful, but thank you for understanding, and thank you, Ollie, for clarifying. So thank you.
Councillor Fraschini had his hand up before. Then we'll close this.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, just to support what Councillor Solly said, because as new information comes to light, officers speaking things, and more information comes to light, that is going to encourage the debate and you actually fact find from that. So I think this is where we are actually right now. The fact of the matter is that the only way you're going to get the proper designs and know where we're going is once it's gone to the tender. So this really is the last point that you spend £17,000 and then so the public would say, why did you spend that £17,000? We now need to get to the point where if I've got a saying this isn't right, if it is the majority of the council, then now's the time to actually make a decision without spending more of taxpayer money. If the decision is to vote it tonight to go ahead with this, then we really need to go ahead with the bridge. Now's the time to make a decision either way.
Councillor Smith-Roberts, and then that is the last comment.
Mine's a clarification point, probably from Emily or as project officer, because I don't think I agree with Councillor Fraschini that we have to do this here and now and go all out. Can you explain to me, I know you may not have quite worked out the pathway, how many other kind of points would we have to make decisions? Because for me, if I've understood correctly, we can make a decision today to get the sub kind of design, but it would give us an overall picture of what the bridge could look like. You'd then have to come back to you'd go out to tender on then to get someone to do the actual design. Then it would have to come back again in order to fund the actual full project. Would that be right?
Yes, yeah, you could do it in that way. So you would get the designs at this point for the rough designs for the bridge. You could then go out to tender solely for the design aspect, although you could, I suppose, group the element with the construction to get the construction costs as well, and appoint to the only do the design stage at that point. But then you'd have to go back and confirm whether or not you want to commission the entire project.
And we're quite clear on what we're voting on. We are purely voting not on whether we go ahead with the bridge, but I will repeat the proposition. Members are asked to consider use of SIL funding to instruct firm to undertake principal designer duties in connection with the proposed reconstruction of footbridge at Goodland Gardens, Taunton, which does not bind us to going ahead subsequently with the bridge. That's what we're voting on. Is that crystal clear? Okay, I now need a proposer. Councillor Ellis, do I have a seconder? Councillor, God, my memory's gone. Garside. I do apologise, it's age. All those in favour of the proposition? All those against? I do believe it's carried. I can't see any
No.
other hands.
I don't think actually councillor Nick O'Donnell was in for the whole agenda item. There's one, I think it's tied, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6.
66. People, if you want to take the vote again, to absolutely sure. How many in favour, please? Put your hands up.
It's carried.
So, point of order, Simon did admit to arriving only a few minutes before me.
No, I arrived during, I didn't vote
Okay.
on the electric vehicle debate that was in progress when I arrived.
So I just want to.
No.
The event is we have 8 in favour and we have 6 against.
Just hands up again for against. 1, 2, 6.
Any abstentions? That is carried. So we go ahead with the next report. Then it will have to come back to council for the final decision whether we go ahead with those conclusions. Is that crystal clear? Thank you. That takes me on to item 14.
I think there's discrimination going on, because when you debated this in January, another member of the public was allowed to speak outside of the public time and for much longer than 3 minutes. And I have been discriminated against because you have not allowed me to speak.
You've made a statement. Can I just have clarification from the officers, please? Is this the case?
Yeah, the statement was read out in public participation at the start of the meeting. It was supplied.
And so was it in the last January one. It was read out.
Comment. I wasn't chairing the meeting.
You're in a you're in a closed session, so obviously it's a debate for the councillors. It's not for, unless you was to suspend the standing orders, invite somebody else to speak, and it would.
Fine, I don't mind being discriminated against. Carry on.
Thank you very much. We move on to item 14, notice boards review, EMR reserves. I now call on the project's lead, Emily Glover, to introduce this item. Members to consider to agree to spend of up to 24,000 from the EMR 345 benches, bins and signage budget line.
Thank you, Chair. The notice board's revised changes and cost report went to the Ops and Assets Committee back in July, where members agreed to the replacement and upgrade of several of Taunton's notice boards. They also agreed to delegate powers to the Operations and Assets Manager to spend up to £24,000 on this. As we're looking to spend from an EMR 345 benches, bins and signs, we have the recommendation was to come to full council to request that. So this report is to seek the spend of up to £24,000 from EMR 345 for the replacement and upgrade of several of Taunton Town Council's notice boards. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments, please? Councillor O'Donnell?
Thank you. Yes, this came through operations and assets, which we passed. We're very much in favour of putting out notice boards in our parks and really just promote the presence of the town council in our local areas. Being very much approved of the design and the initial locations. I believe there's a phase 2 to come, but I would encourage all members to support this, and I think it's good to get our presence. And if you look at some of the Appendix A, our faces out there in the public well. Thank you.
Councillor Tish?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, very supportive of this design. It's really good. Apologies if I missed it in the report. I'm on holiday, so I haven't had a chance to read them properly. I'm sure to be asked, but I noticed that the notice boards are locked with keys, so I'm not so interested in members of Victoria Park Action Group having keys. That don't really, I'm not saying that, but what I'm asking is how quickly. Sometimes the posters for the bingo nights, they're not sort of pre-prepared with lots of lead time. So how long would officers need to get a poster advertising something, to go up in to be for the boards to be open and for the public to use. I'm making a big assumption that we're allowing, sorry, I've just realised I've made a massive assumption that the public can put notices in there. So both questions, please.
I would
Yeah.
defer to Emily.
Yes, I was going to say that. Emily?
Yes, so one side will be locked, which will be primarily for Taunton Town Council communications. The other side will be open access for public. So they'll just be able to open it up. And
Sorry, forgive me, I didn't read it.
Councillor Ellis and then Councillor Isaac.
Councillor Ellis?
Yeah, I strongly support this. It's a really vital project. We need to be able to communicate with people who are not on social media the whole time, people in their communities, and then we need that visibility. People, you know, in the parks, key locations will stop and be able to find out more and engage with the council, get key info. Point which I probably made when this was in committee, the exact location and positioning of these boards in the specific locations is really critical. So there needs to be, for example, in French Weir, we need to have the early conversations with the Friends of French Weir to okay the exact location. And I really mean that quite seriously, because there's been locations where we've put other kit into the park that's been plonked in rather silly locations, and people just feel something that should be a great thing. Here's a new bin or here's a new this. People just go, what on earth? Why have they just plonked it there? So I think it's really important. We don't want to mess this up. We want to, get it, have the sort of friends groups on board. So let's please, I obviously 100% support this, but let's make sure that we do all of that liaison so that we get them in the right locations.
Thank you, Councillor Ellis. Who was that?
Councillor Isaac.
Councillor Isaacs.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Councillor Ellis wholeheartedly, and my colleague, Councillor O'Donnell. There seems to be 3 areas in the town that have no notice boards as such. It looks from the plan there, there's 4 boards allocated for each area. Would that be?
Can we clarify that, please?
Yeah, sorry, going back to Caroline's point there, that it does need consultation and planning where those boards actually go. If there's 4 to go in the Wellsprings and Robarton area, then we need to be involved in where they go. Our area at Greenway Park, Councillor O'Donnell and I have had meetings in the park with residents, and we're trying to set up a friend of the park, same as the French Weir. So I think having the people involved at where this goes would be a great benefit. Thank you.
Yeah. Is Councillor Deacon?
Next, Councillor Hughes next.
I'm sorry.
And then Councillor.
Sorry, Tom, diving ahead of you. I think this is a great initiative. I think it's really important that we have these community notice boards out there. My ward is one that is particularly underserved at the moment. I went out with my family when we were looking to put up our board member initiative scheme posters to find suitable locations for them. And there are practically none, because Vivery Park isn't ours. There are a number of notice boards within Vivery Park that appear to be Somerset Council assets. Obviously it's Somerset Council asset itself, around that park, that are clearly disused and having, I think, Taunton Deane information still on them, which certainly dates it. I would welcome discussions with Somerset Council to look at those assets, particularly within Vivery Park, or whether they would be amenable to potentially with board member initiative scheme money, putting in community notice boards that belong to us, either adjacent to the cafe or ideally near the entrances, so that one of the major parks can actually have our information in there and act as a community focus. Again, similarly with Killam's estate, I'm in conversation at the moment with Summerfields. I want to pursue that because, again, that's an area that is very underserved in terms of community information, because we don't have any assets up there at the moment. So just to flag that I would like to carry that conversation on at another point.
Thank you, Councillor Becky. Councillor Deacon.
I was actually making a very similar point. So there's certainly a notice board in Overbridge. There's another one in Pearland that I can think of that isn't listed on this asset register. So I assume that just means they didn't transfer to us when we were created. I'm not sure there are certainly, I'd be happy to give locations, but I would like us to explore those sites as well as we move forward, and so they're actually utilised and work better maintained than they are at the moment.
Councillor Deacon. Anybody else? Okay, in that case, we can move to, have to,
Yeah, so consider to agree the spend of up to 24,000.
yes. But all those in favour? All those against?
Should we just read out what the proposal was? So
And we need a proposal, I think. Yeah.
Members are considered to agree to spend of up to 24,000 from EMR 345, benches, bins and signage. Budget. I read that before. Just for clarification. All those in favour?
Yeah.
Hold on, I think his hand went up first. All seconder? Councillor O'Donnell, all those in favour? All those against? Bear that unanimously agreed. That now takes me on to item 15, access to information, motion to include the press and the public. During discussion following items, agenda item 16, it may be necessary to pass the following resolution to exclude the press and public, having reflected on the presumption in favour of openness. This decision may be required because considerations matter in public may disclose information falling within one of the descriptions of exempt information in Schedule 12A of the Local Government Act 1972. Committee will need to decide whether in all the circumstances of the case, the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. So the recommendation is under section 100A brackets 4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded from the items of business agenda item 16 on the grounds that involves the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 3 respectively of part 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act, namely information relating to the financial or business affairs of any particular person, including the authority holding that information. Proposer. Councillor Packer Hughes, round seconder. I think. Who did I say? Councillor Solly. All those in favour? All those against? I declare that unanimously confirmed.